If you really fucking sad, get your flags out. Now bang your fucking head and throw your backs out. Drink up in the air, I'm about to pass out. Yeah, everybody know we getting maxed out. If you really fucking sad, get your flags out. Now bang your fucking head, throw your backs out. Drink up in the air, I'm about to pass out. Yeah, everybody know we getting. Motherfucking maxed out. Maxed out. Yeah, everybody know we level. My life is prison treble. No more fish scale. I'ma die just to bruise the eyes of the fucking devil. To leave the beef settled. Reincarnated hip hop and heavy metal. Love my life living as a world tour. Done a million times before. Ready for a world war. Get on fast and kid. Fucking fashion. Everybody know we getting maxed out. If you really fucking sick, get your flags out. Now bang your fucking head and throw your backs out. Drink up in the air, I'm about to pass out. Yeah, everybody know we getting maxed out. If you really fucking sick, get your flags out. Now bang your fucking head, throw your backs out. Drink up in the air, I'm about to pass out. Yeah, everybody know we getting.
And you guys can all hear me. What up, everybody? It's DJ AlphaTyler, and we are back again with another episode of Around the Music. This is episode 21. If you guys don't know, if you guys have missed the series, we've got such artists as Meezus. We've got the Marine rapper. We got Bryson Gray on Around the Music. We've had all kinds of people, and I'm very happy today to be bringing somebody that you guys are probably very familiar with, Mr. Nick Natoli. Now, if you guys don't know Nick Natoli, we found way back on the channel, way back in the day. He was making some controversial noise music, you know what I'm saying? He was saying some things that we liked and we always rock with and we go along with. And so we started checking out his music back in the day, found out he has writing credits with French Montana. He's got writing credits with Snoop Dogg. Dude has been out, he's been signed. Probably, honestly, I think this is the first signed artist that we've ever had on the channel. And so I'm excited to bring him today. And it's interesting because if you guys remember way back in the day when we first started rocking with Nick Natoli, there was a little bit of stuff that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but it came back up through my good friend Kelvin J. Kelvin was like, hey, you need to hit up Nick. You guys need to connect again. Like, you need to check out what he's doing now because things change in a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, Nick Natoli, how you doing, brother?
What up, brother? Thank you for having me, man.
Hey, 100%. I'm so glad to have you on the channel. Jason says in the chat, he was partly how AlphaTyler and I met. Exactly, yeah. And so before we get into that, do you, I know I probably did like you're probably sitting there thinking, man, this guy ain't introducing me well. Like I can do a better job than that. You want to tell everybody about yourself though?
Never that. Yeah, man. Kind of a long story, man. I started as a writer / artist on a TV show on Bravo called Platinum Hit with Cara Diaguardi and Jewel. I kind of propelled that foot in the door into a writing and producing career. Worked with such names as Snoop Dogg, French Montana, YG, Neon Hitch, Sam Bruno, Bianca Ryan. The list goes on and on. Penned my own deal, my publishing deal as an artist and a writer with Warner Chappell Music Publishing and a company called Bumpin' to Genius in 2017. And the moment they gave me my own studio at Jim Henson Studios, I started banging out my own music. And ever since then, I've kind of propelled that into a full-on artist career. As a rapper, singer, I do R&B, country, hip hop, you name it. And now I'm working with such talented artists like Kelvin J, DVS 7.0, Griff the GOP, and I got an album coming out. Many other names. D-Cure and I just dropped one recently. And yeah, my music has kind of shifted to be a lot more political, more conservative, and more Trump-based, to be honest.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say, like, you know, it is kind of a shift in my mind. It's a shift in your tone, kind of your access and everything. Because looking through your history, I mean, you kind of got that dream setup. You know what I'm saying? Like you took that vault. Like you started out on reality TV. You know what I'm saying? Like you took that, you turned that into writing, producing. Like you get into the industry. You literally skipped all the steps, ran around and everything, and you got to that point, like on the inside and everything. How does that feel? First of all, like a lot of independent artists trying to get on the inside. Like, how does it feel to kind of shift that? Like you got that pole vault into the inside and then flip back to being independent, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll give it up to God, man, because I was very blessed to even get on national television and to be on a Bravo TV show. And reality TV in 2011 is not exactly what it is in 2022. Yeah. So I was very blessed to kind of get in when people were still watching TV and giving a fuck about those kind of TV shows. Now it's like they're like a dime a dozen, and I feel like it's just been watered down and oversaturated. So I got very lucky to get that screen time when I did. And, you know, to be honest with you, man, I'll just pull the ego right out from under me and say it was extremely hard work after I got on national TV. I still had to start messaging people on Instagram and every app to see if I could get into a songwriting session, to see if I could show my talent and to, you know, actually make a career out of this. So that was at least 3 or 4 years of consistent work after the show until I landed songs with Snoop Dogg and French Montana and YG and all these other cats. So it was just nonstop grind. Like, even if you're an independent artist, if you grind the way I grinded, I had a major representation, but I grinded like an independent artist. So it's all about work, man, hard work.
Well, that's one of the interesting things. I think, you know, a lot of people when they see an artist and they see where an artist is at, you know, here, you know, you got some dope accolades, legitimately,
Thank you, brother.
and that's one of the things. Like, it's easy to look at that and see like where you're at without seeing what goes into that and everything. So, you know, I like that you mentioned, you know, there were years right there where you had to actually grind behind the scenes. You know, show that you could do it, push that you could do it, and everything, and you know, kind of getting that label backing. That's one thing I'm trying to remember the artist, but we were talking about within the last couple of weeks. You know, there was another artist kind of talking about some, you know, trying to get on a label and everything. And that was where I kind of jumped in and I'm like, you know, labels really once they get you, it's easy to get comfortable. Like it's really easy to kind of take the writing credits and everything and say, you know, I don't want my own thing. And so it's impressive to see you kind of coming away from that and saying, you know what, yeah, but I want to write my own thing. And that actually calls back to how I first found your music and what I was first kind of impressed with in your music. Because like I said, I checked you out a couple of years ago, like well before like this change and everything. And I liked the idea that you were with the label, that you were kind of tied in with that crowd and everything, and you were still saying the things that you were saying. I like the tone, I like the message and everything. Um,
They
so
didn't like that.
well, I'm sure, and so that's one thing I kind of want to ask out the gate. Like how did it feel kind of coming out with all that, like from that perspective, while you still had those ties to labels and everything, like while you're still, legitimately it's pushed everywhere. Anybody that talks about Nick Natoli talks about, okay, Nick Natoli, Warner Chapel's gonna come up, all that. How does it feel to kind of have that over your head while you're saying the things that you were saying?
I mean, I just want to touch on something you were talking about earlier with independent artists and getting
Sure.
signed to a major label real quick. Everybody thinks, and I'm guilty of this too. I was guilty of this for a long time, that there's a magic button that the major label guy, or there's this imaginary guy or girl who works at a label, and she's just going to push that magic button once you get signed, and all of a sudden you're everywhere. What I found after 12 years in this business is that you are the magic button. The mirror is the magic button. Unless you work like nobody else is working for you, it's not going to happen, because everybody thinks that somebody's going to work as hard as you're going to work for your own career. And it is not fucking true. It's the complete opposite. You're the one who wakes up in the morning thinking about your career and where you want to be. You're the one who really wants to show off to whoever, whether it's an ex-girlfriend or your boys or whatever it is. You're the one who wants that shine. They don't give a fuck. They already paid. A lot of these people, they have money. You know what I mean? Like when I was up at the top levels of record labels and stuff, I'm talking to people that are worth, 10 to 15 million dollars. So they don't give a fuck. So that's the thing that just kind of clicked with me. Even after I got signed, I was like, you know what? These people are not pushing me the way I deserve to be pushed. So
Yeah.
I'm going to push, you know what I mean? And I'm going to do what I need to do and work with who I need to work with and collab with who I need to collab with to get to the place where I want to be. So it's really on you, man. And that's why I say for independent artists, like independent or major, just wipe that title away and just work like you want to work and
Yeah.
see the results.
You gotta be pushing your content. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of from that, because one of the things, and I like what Kat said in the chat. She said, "If you had to push yourself, why be on a label anyway?" Exactly. And that's the thing. I feel like a lot of the music lane today, and I saw you. I believe on, I can't remember where the interview was recently, but you were talking about, hey, like labels are realizing like that independent grind is the way to go, and a lot of that is because the curtain has been pulled back. It's like, okay, a label ain't gonna do that much for you right now. They're just gonna own your rights. They're gonna keep money from you, and So I do like that the curtain has been pulled back. In some regards, I feel like it's kind of opened the floodgates to say, okay, now if you can find a microphone and figure out how to work a computer, now you can make a song and claim that it's fantastic, which is a different can of worms. But
Right.
I do like through that grind too. And so one of the things I was talking about when I started rocking with your music a couple of years ago, and you and I talked about this kind of offline a little bit, but I do want to go back to a couple of years ago where everything was at. So Jason mentioned in the chat a few minutes ago. Well, first of all, Jason said, "Can't believe it's actually him." I feel like that's probably the sentiment of a lot of people in the community. But Jason mentioned like you know, Nick Natoli was part of how we met, and Jason's one of my best friends on the platform. Shout out to independent artists, you know, Jason making music and stuff like that. And so,
He's the
you
dude
know,
that you did the reaction with, the
yeah.
Patriot.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on. What
Yeah.
up, Jason?
Yeah. And so, you know, Jason and I partly came into contact, and we've had a great friendship ever since. But we partly came into contact around, you know, members of our community being attacked by people claiming to be supporting Nick Natoli.
Right.
And so I just want to give you a minute, because I already know, like, you know, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit offline. And so I'm not really going to frame it. I think a lot of people kind of know the story, but I'll just give you a minute to kind of like lay that situation out, because I know that was one thing for everybody watching too. That is one thing that Nick told me, like at the beginning of the interview. He really wants to kind of clear the air on, because and I understand. And I'm going to give you another piece on how that. Well, actually, I'll just throw out right now, like a big part of how that came back up. Shout out to Kelvin J. I know he's a friend of yours, good friend of mine.
Yeah. That's my boy. That's my brother right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kelvin had actually heard some of my comments, you know, about, yeah, I used to rock with Nick, because I got the God Gang album, and I saw Nick Natoli on the back, and I'm like, man, haven't heard that name in a couple of years. Like last time that was rolling around, like there was some negativity associated, you know?
Sure.
And he's like, well, you know, Nick's in a different spot right now. Like, I would highly encourage you to link back up with him, like get in touch with him and make something happen and talk to him and hear his side of the story. And so
that's blessed. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to give you a minute to kind of like speak on that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, so like I was telling you earlier, like I ran a record label that employed anywhere between 300 to 500 different kids at a time. Now, their job was literally primarily to be on their computer spamming to get us business, to get us clients on whether it was YouTube, Spotify, anywhere where there's music was being played, they were told to go on there and get us clients so that we could make this bread. Now, you can go on the record label. You could see my face all over the clients list. This is where we did Snoop Dogg. This is where we did French Montana, YG. We cut a lot of records here. So I was the boss. You understand? Like there was me and another, my ex-partner at the time, and we were just working, grinding, and all of these kids were online with different YouTube accounts and different Twitter accounts, and their job was to spam. Now, after I wasn't an artist at the time. So after that, I go on, get signed to Warner Chappell, start doing my music career, and I start seeing all these motherfuckers in my comments saying this, that, and the third, sending me, whether it's like hateful or congrats, just sending me messages, sending my girl messages. So it's like anything that y'all experience, I'm like, we got the brunt of it. Like, if anything, like it dripped over to my side more than anything. And at the time, I was signed to a major fucking record label. So they were messaging them. They were acting crazy. So everybody has my apologies on behalf of that. But at the same time, like, I got nothing to fucking do with that. I've been in this game since 2011. All I do is make music and make good connections. Anybody who's worked with me has nothing but positivity to say about me. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, and then I saw videos like he's a fake. He never wrote for Snoop Dogg. And I'm like, okay, that's where I cut the cord. Because I'm like, if you're in the game, you know what I mean? If you're outside the game, you don't know shit. So.
Well, on that interesting crossover. So if you guys don't know the label he's talking about that he was running, it was Trend Def. On Trend Def, for anybody saying that Nick never wrote for Snoop, on Trend Def was actually Skylar Chisel, I believe is how you say her name. Yeah. And so she got the track featuring Snoop Dogg. I believe that came out when she was 16 too. So I mean, I can't imagine being 16 years old having a feature from Snoop Dogg. That's fucking insane. So she came out with the track. It's been 6 years ago now. It just hit 400,000 views. It's called Fire, featuring Snoop Dogg, and Snoop actually does name Nick Natoli in the track. I'm gonna say that was that. So for anybody saying he didn't write for Snoop, like there's got to be a connection. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've done 4 records for Snoop. And one of them hit Billboard with Corey Feldman. So I have the Corey Feldman featuring Snoop song called Go For It.
Yeah.
And Corey Feldman decided to take that song. He paid for the song. And then we were like, okay, cool. It's Corey Feldman. We didn't think anything of it. Next thing you know, we start hearing that he's on Good Morning Today or some shit. He went on and did like this crazy dance to it. And the shit went viral. And it actually ended up hitting Billboard. So that was actually one of my first Billboard hits was with Corey Feldman featuring Snoop Dogg back in like 2016.
Yeah. That's great. Hey, that's awesome.
Crazy.
And I mean legitimately, you know, being able, anybody who understands the industry, understands how labels work and everything, understands like there are a lot of people. The bigger artists do have a ton of people behind their names. You know what I'm saying? Like when you start looking at writing credits and you actually look, that's part of why I hate that CDs don't exist now, because you know, there used to be liner notes inside CDs and you could actually look and see who wrote everything. So that's just one thing I guess that we've lost with time. But I mean, you know, to just blanket discredit and say, okay, dude didn't write for Snoop, like, you know, I'm probably guilty, I would say, at some point of saying that in a video at some point, because there was a point. I'm not gonna lie, I have no reason to lie. You know what I mean? There was a point where I had negativity against you, but it was because genuinely people claiming your name were like attacking people in the community, and so.
Well, yeah, I mean, you getting so many people that are discrediting me, and obviously it's going to, you know, come to your brain like that this motherfucker is a fake or a phony. But actually, Corey Feldman put out a record, a vinyl of the album called Angelic to the Core, which has the Go For It featuring Snoop Dogg on it. And that was a record. And so they had a event at Amoeba Records here in Hollywood. Yeah. And I went and picked up the record, and my name is in the liner notes on the record.
Nice.
Cool.
Let's go.
Cool. And I was like, that's the only benefit of Corey being an older cat, because who the fuck buys like vinyls? Nobody's buying vinyls anymore, but he had to do it.
Yeah. Let's see. He himself, Corey Feldman, was a heavy target for Light again for a while. For Light? Heard him brought up even on comedy. Not sure what you mean by that, B-Mad, but yeah. No, like, and so I'm glad. I see, you know, Jason even threw in there, like glad that we got a chance to clear that up and throw that out there, because, you know, I feel like a lot of people unfairly judge. Because like I said, even when I first heard your music, you know, I resonated with the message. I felt like a little bit of it was formulaic at that point, but I think that's kind of the industry influence. I will say, like, newer stuff that I've heard from you feels like it's breaking away from a formula, which I like to see, because to me that just says that you're doing what you want to do more than just what you're conditioned to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. When I first got signed, see, I got signed to a company called Bump Into Genius, and they told me when I was getting signed, they're like, oh, you know, we're administered by Warner Chappell, so you're getting signed to Warner Chappell Music Publishing. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? And then I got to go to the Warner building and sign my paperwork there, and it was like a mind blow for me. It was a mind fuck, because I had no idea that was the deal. And then once I got with Warner and they started promoting me on their page with Justin Bieber and 2 Chainz and freaking Cardi B, I was like, okay, a part of me needs to kind of make my music formulaic, and at least because I might blow the fuck up with one of these songs. So a lot of the stuff that I was talking about was not really organic and not true to my heart and my soul and my core and where I wanted to be. And I feel like I paid the price for that, because I kind of got mixed in with the shuffle. It wasn't like, oh, here's Nick Natoli and here's everybody else, which is how I feel like it is right now. It's I'm a different brand right now. I feel like I'm one of the few.
Yeah, it's interesting, because like I said, through Kelvin, I kind of started looking at your stuff again, just to kind of like catch back up. And of course, like we connected, and you know, I was like, okay, well, I want to see what dude's been working through, because, you know, and a lot of me, and I do sincerely apologize. I do want to get that across. Not that I feel like, you know, you expect it or anything, but I just want to make sure that it comes across that I do apologize for any negativity that I helped push in the past.
I appreciate that, and like I said, I apologize on behalf of any negativity that you got from my fans. Like,
well, and I appreciate that too. And I think these moments are most important, because genuinely, like when I went to your page, I started seeing what you've been working on. I'm like, okay, this is kind of like a rebirth. Like, this is a new dude. This isn't the dude that negativity was swirling around a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that you were responsible for that even a couple of years ago. I'm just saying I think it's easy to kind of get trapped into loops, especially, like, everybody knows music game anyway. Somebody's going to soundbite something that you say. Like, even on this interview, there could be a point where I said the word and then like 10 seconds later, I say the word hate. And then like somebody goes back and clips where I said Nick Natoli, and then somebody's going to have a video with you on camera where I say I hate Nick Natoli. You know what I mean? Like,
you know what? I could take responsibility for it in the sense that I was running with the devil, and I can't expect to not be accompanied by Hell's Angels when I'm doing that. So for me, like the life that I was living, even like right when I got signed, like I was fucking drinking lean, and I was, you know, my Christianity was not important to me, and like where my life was at was not really that positive of a place. You know, I was trying to fit in. I really was. I was trying. I'm not that, and I'm not a follower, but I do follow the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, I was trying to I feel like fit myself into, you know, a square peg or a round hole, and it just wasn't really me. Yeah. So if anything, now that I've kind of given my life over to God a little bit more and kind of just focused on being a better overall person, my music has translated to that. My fan base has translated to that, etc.
I think it's interesting that you say that, because I'm trying to remember. Well, I'm not trying to remember. I actually pulled it up so that I could fact check myself. I think the first song that I checked out that you had made was "I'm Sorry," and I really love that video. Love that song. Love everything about that. That was when I first found you. I loved the message. I loved a lot of like the subliminal messages that you had going on in the video. You know, like. And I'm probably like dating myself for like how far back I was checking out Nick Natoli, but that's what I'm saying. Like genuinely,
that was like 3 years ago. Man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Genuinely, it was a few years ago. You know, I was rocking with Nick Natoli, like, and I still remember that because I enjoyed that video enough to be like, this is a guy that like I want to hear more from. You know, now that said, in the same context, I think the last one I checked out before like all the things blew up was God. And it's interesting, you know, you're talking about embracing God a little bit more, pulling God more into your life. Of course, that's how Kelvin and I connected. Kelvin and I connected through Brass and Gray. And then it kind of you know went out of that. I'm glad to say like Kelvin and I have kept in touch really well. He's you know, I consider him a really good friend. Yeah, and you know, a lot of that is centered on God, to the point that when Kelvin was on this channel for an interview at one point, like he stopped me in the middle and he's like, "But have you forgiven your father?" And I had like a crisis of faith for a minute. I'm like, You gonna preach to me while we're talking about what you're working on right now? But you know, that's he will absolutely. But that's interesting. Like I love that embracing, like you said, that like embracing God kind of turned you away from some of those things that you were running with. What up, Hillbilly? I see you in the chat. Speaking of people, and so I hate that you're joining at this point because we covered a lot of the stuff that I know that you're going to be super interested in already. Definitely back up, because we discussed some community negativity and stuff like that a little bit ago. So definitely, I mean, hang with us right now, but definitely go back and watch that earlier piece, because I definitely know your first thought when you saw the name, and there's a piece of this that I think that you really want to see. But I do like that, you know, you're open and vulnerable about the fact, you know, you were in a bad spot and all that, which I wouldn't have assumed for the record. I do like that you kind of, you know, embraced, I guess. I don't like the term MAGA rap. You know, I don't like that term, because it's putting people in a box and saying that's all that they can do. Sure. But that community, you know what I'm saying? Like picking up that community, getting back to a lot of that community really hangs on God. And so on that note, I know you've been working with artists like Devious and everything. What's your most recent project? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I want to talk about like what you've had, what you're working on, stuff like that. But I want to focus on like what was your most recent thing that you would really...
Man, it's honestly a laundry list, because when I first came out, I had the ego to think that every song should be a Nick Natoli song. Like if you hear a Nick Natoli song, it's only Nick Natoli on there, because I am multi-talented in the sense where I sing in different dialects, and I could do country, I could do R&B. So I didn't need nobody on the hook, and I really like my bars. So I was like, I don't really need anybody on these tracks. But then I opened up my catalog to other people, and everything just skyrocketed, bro. Like every song that I thought was already magic really turned to something else that was really special. Yeah. So now that I'm working with all these different artists, it's just a laundry list of songs. Like I got one with Playboy the Beast called Where We Go One We Go All. That's doing really well on Spotify right now. Yep. I just dropped one with my boy D Cure called Testify. That's a song about giving your faith up to God. DBS and I just dropped a song called Lexit, which is about the Latino Democratic exit movement.
Yeah.
And Kelvin and I have steady been working, but we dropped Red Caps, we dropped Patriot, we dropped Canada, and we still have a few more coming. Kelvin and I got a new song coming out probably like next week called God and Country, which is another one. Obviously, the title says it all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, my life, the way I was living my life and the things that I was thinking was just impurities. It was just all stuff that was really impure. And a lot of it was money based and fame based and, respect based and stuff like that. And so more recently, I've turned my life over to God. I've realized that God has protected me from certain aspects in this industry. Yeah. Because I got a lot of people on my phone list, man. I'm like, damn, he's gone. Damn, they got him. Damn, this motherfucker possessed too. So like, I'm like, why? I had to ask myself. I was like, why do you think you're special, Nick? Like, what about you didn't reach it to that plateau and get to that place, to that Drake level where shit starts to get really hairy and people start trying to control you? And they say the devil's rejection is God's protection. So for me, like, I just kind of had to sit with that and really think about that for a second. And that's really just, filled my soul with positivity, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the big things. I'm a firm believer that you have to go through the valleys to appreciate the peaks anyway,
Absolutely.
And so I always love those testimonies. I love when somebody has an actual testimony behind their story to say, okay, but nah, man, like in your case, like I'm up here, drinking lean, trying to fit in and everything, and then I realized like this is what's holding me back, and a lot of times it really is, man. Like it's easy to see successful people doing that, but imagine what they would be doing if like God's behind them. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always my thought.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Hillbilly actually threw in the chat. Your grandparents wrote for Rat Pack. Now I remember seeing like. Yeah. I remember seeing Sinatra. I actually did not see Rat Pack. Okay, so is that legit?
They wrote a song for Frank Sinatra called "Here's to the Band," and here's the craziest part about it. It's like the claim to fame for my grandparents. Like they got the picture with Frank up in the house and stuff, and that's what I grew up seeing. So I mean, like it's definitely in the blood, and I had big shoes to fill. But guess who published the song?
Who's that?
Fucking Warner Chappell Music Publishing. I couldn't believe because they never told me that. They weren't really into the publishing part.
Yeah.
It's back in the day. They didn't give a fuck. They're like, we got a song with Sinatra. I don't care who published it. But so I went home when I got signed from Warner as like a coming home trip and just to celebrate a little bit, throw some money around. And I went and I saw in the liner notes, I was like, Warner Chappell fucking Music Publishing. And I'm like, now it's 2017 and we Warner Chappell, baby. Crazy, man.
That's actually awesome though. Like I saw that I was reading an article. I can't remember the site right now. But I was reading an article kind of going through where they had sat down to talk to you and like that busted out the gate and they're like, hold up, like everything changed at this point. Like, it's bred in the blood. But one thing that I like too, and you talked about in there, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier too. You're interested in making sure that you're pushing like all different genres through your music and everything, being more of a multifaceted artist. So is there any style of song that you want to make that you haven't had the chance to make yet? Like
Plenty. I mean, my goal is to do every genre, bro. Like, I really mean that. People are like, well, he's not gonna touch, jazz fusion. I'm like, no, I will, because I love music as a whole. There's really not a music that I listen to and I'm like, I want to turn this off. I love all types of music. And if you go back to the TV show that I was on, if you actually saw the show, each week was a different genre.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this week is a rap week. This week you're going to write in country. And so for me, I'm like, a lot of my original fan base came from that TV show.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to give them like, this is 10 years later. I'm like, I still got it. And I didn't forget my roots type thing. You know what I mean? Like I still multi-genre it up. So it's a big part of what I'm doing.
One thing I really liked reading through that, obviously you're most known for rap, you do production, you do engineering and stuff like that. But I really liked that you mentioned like punk being one of your most influential styles and everything. And that's pretty cool to me. Obviously we're about the same age. And so like we grew up with like the Good Charlottes and AFI and like all that was rocking when we were younger. And so like where is that like the style that you're wanting to run into with punk and also Oh,
I'm
go
definitely
ahead.
gonna do some punk. I'm definitely gonna do some punk eventually. But go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just gonna ask also, like, do you play any instruments? Like, are you
Yeah,
multi-instrumental?
yeah. Multi instrumentalist. Play guitar, bass, drums, keyboards. I mean, that's really how it all started. Was
Yeah.
my grandparents got me a cheap guitar from a garage sale, and I learned every Nirvana and Blink 182 song and No Effects song that you could play. So that's really where the Nick Natoli journey started. Even when I got on Platinum Hit and the first song I played for them, they're like, okay, so Blink 182 is a big part of your like repertoire, and I was like, yeah, I love Blink, like I can't hide it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like obviously music changed, which I didn't think it was gonna do, but it really changed, and so it's kind of been hard to dive back into that. But like MGK and a couple of other bands
Yeah.
are kind of like throwing it back. So I'd love to do something like that, man, eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now, and like a lot of people will knock MGK for it, but like I think now is a great time for the pop punk movement anyway. Like people, personally, when I see like, because he kind of did his thing, and then just it spiraled from there, and so many artists now are popping back up. Like there's a legit revival of pop punk as a genre coming back up.
Totally.
And I personally think that's awesome because pop punk is fantastic music to just chill and ride to.
Agreed. Just to chill and ride to, for real.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll knock MGK on is the pants, man. I don't know what he coming out in a skirt and a blouse. I was like, nigga, what is you doing? Like, that's the only thing I can't rock with.
Yeah. Going back, you were talking about now that you're kind of on a more independent path. Now I notice you keep shouting out Warner Chappell still. Like, is it just like giving them love for getting you a start? Or
no, I'm not with them anymore. So
okay.
I just posted this on my Instagram like a few weeks back. But so Warner and Bump Into Genius they sold the publishing rights to a new company called CTM Outlander, and that's who I'm with now. It's on my page and everything.
Okay.
It was kind of like a bittersweet thing, man, because I was like, oh man, we had this momentum and everything that we built with Warner, but to be honest with you, ever since Warner heard what I was doing, they were not pushing me as much, and they were pushing me down in the shuffle. So for me, I was like, this is a new company. They're an international company. And if you look up CTM Outlander right now on Google, you'll see they're buying, like, a Billboard's writing about them. They're buying up publishing from Rihanna, a bunch of huge artists and stuff. So they're on the like cutting edge right now. And so I'm excited to be a part of them. I literally just got with them like a couple of months ago, and I'm still transferring over like all my material from Warner to CTM. But yeah, I'm not with Warner Chappell anymore. We're done.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, on that, do you look at it more as a publishing thing? Like, do you consider yourself independent, or do you consider yourself still like?
Bro, I could be signed to Drake and I'll still be thinking I'm independent because nobody wakes up and works for Nick Natoli like Nick Natoli does. That's
okay, cool.
Like,
cool.
It really, at this point, after being with Warner, it just doesn't fucking matter. Because I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
maybe this company will like boost my shit all over the place, but I don't depend on it. I don't count on it. I just wake up and do me, man.
So how do you feel, like, kind of on that note, on going out? Because I know a lot of dudes, and so I specifically asked about distribution because I know a lot of dudes will try to like hang on to a label or something for distribution while they go off and kind of do their independent thing. Are you more focused on dropping tracks, or are you working on like albums? Do you want to put like an album package together? Because looking through your catalog, and I could be wrong on this, looking through your catalog, I think every song is pretty much dropped independently. Like I don't think I've seen like a album project together.
Yeah. No, right now I'm so focused on the features that I'm just getting on everybody else's album, and I'm not really concerned with my own. I mean, for me, it's I like to I'm kind of like the Joker in The Dark Knight, where I just do things. You know what I mean? Like I'll just go home right now to my studio and I'll just crank out a track and I'll be like, oh, this sounds good, and I'll drop it. You know what I mean? If anything, the distribution with Warner and CTM and Bump Into Genius, it only delays my process because they got to sit down and get the lyrics. They got to find out what all the, splits are and stuff. And it takes them a minute for them to actually distribute my shit. So for me, I'm like, I almost wish I wasn't 100% independent because I would be pumping out things faster. If anything, it's like wait time,
Sure. Doing everything. So do you produce all your own beats? I think you do. Yeah.
I do.
And you do all of your own engineering. Yeah.
I do.
Good deal. See, I personally like that. I mean, I know it's a harder Pace, I'll say this as an engineer who has actually worked on music that I've made. It's so much harder to me to criticize my own stuff in the moment of like going into the studio and actually listening to something and saying, okay, this needs tweaked this way, like pushing stuff a certain way. I'm the worst with my own music because I either overdo it or underdo it, or because I'm compensating in both directions. How do you kind of feel about that struggle, like going back and forth? Because you got a big catalog at this point. I mean, you've dropped a lot of tracks and videos.
My advice is, if you're like dying to do it, then just start doing it. And in 5 to 7 years time, you'll be at a level where you really like. It might sound like shit for the first couple of years, but you'll get to a place with your mixes, your masters, your engineering, your vocal production, everything that your vocal performance, everything will come to where you want it to be. Like for me, I was the guy who was like crumpling up paper and throwing it at the back of the head of the producer, like, nah, man, I said I wanted less this and more that. Yeah. And I got so frustrated that I walked out of a writing session one day and I was like, I'm never going to be just a writer in a session again. Right. I'm going to be the producer. I'm doing all this myself. And for me, like, I got a lot of music to get out in my heart, in my mind, my soul. I have a lot of music to get out. So for me, it was like, how do I do that unless I do that? You know what I mean? Plus somebody said one day when I was just a writer, they're like, oh, so you don't make your own music? And I was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, I wrote this, I wrote that. Like, yeah, but if you don't produce, like, you don't make your own music. And that shit just pissed me off, bro. And so ever since then, it's just been me producing the shit.
I've always thought that's hilarious. I mean, respect to everybody who produces and then raps on it. But I've always thought that's hilarious because you don't look at a band and say, okay, well, Steven Tyler didn't write his own music. Like,
right.
Dude, they wrote it all. Like, come on now. Like, yeah, there were 4 other people, but come on. Like, who else you thinking of when you think of Aerosmith? But exactly. Hiring a producer is like buying a friend. You can buy the right one for the right amount, but it just don't feel right. That's actually a pretty solid quote. Hey, while we continue this, guys, if you guys have any questions, make sure you type them in the chat. Anything that you came here that you'd like to hear from Nick, I promise I will ask whatever your question, as long as it's not just completely out of left field. So one thing I want to circle back to, and I meant to latch onto it at the time. Honestly, conversation with you is really easy. I didn't expect it to be like that. I've watched a lot of interviews. You seem like a really nice conversational guy. I do all my interviews unscripted, though. I know a lot of artists don't really like going unscripted because they're like, ah. But one thing that I'll talk about, or that I'll ask about while you're talking about your music now that you're more independent, or you're independent, is your music is more of you, like more of your personality is coming through in your music. And so one thing I know is that you're super into conspiracy theories. So when we getting the Nick Natoli track about aliens, be real.
That's actually a great point. I did a song called Who Built the Pyramids recently, featuring Black Pegasus, who's an incredible rapper. I don't know if you've heard of him or heard his music, but this guy can fucking rap his ass off. It was one of the rare situations where dude beat me on the track, and I'll say it hands down, like he killed my verse. And I had to hit him up. I was like, bro, I'm mad at you, right? Because you killed me on this track. But yeah, so we're talking about like who built the pyramids and stuff. For me, man, like, I don't want to go like too deep down the rabbit hole because it's really not as popular as some of the other stuff that I'm making, some of the pro-Trump music that I'm making. But if you talk to me, you know what I mean? I'm a full-blown conspiracy theorist. I believe most of what Q said was legitimate and real, and I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories. So eventually, I think it's going to start rolling itself out.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that because I've seen you talk about that stuff a lot. Lots of relevant conversations. By the way, if you guys have never actually watched like the episodes on BET where Nick Natoli was featured, you guys should definitely check those out because he does kind of go into, I believe it's the BET ones where you go into conspiracy a little bit more. BBC. I said BET. My bad. BBC. Yeah. Goes into kind of some conspiracies he follows a little bit more. They press him a little bit harder, and that's I kind of asked it as a joke, but also to kind of get that out there. Lots of interesting conversation. I watched. You had some really interesting thoughts about January 6th, so on and so forth. And so kudos. I always shout out everybody who actually forms their own opinions, and that's one of the things. You're a hard guy not to like. I'm gonna say when you because
Likewise, man. Likewise.
I dug into your like catalog, into your videos at the time that I tried really hard not to like you enough to like kind of see this other side, and I'm like, man, I really want to like this guy, but I just and so like you're a hard guy not to like because I've tried. Um, but one question from the chat, real quick: what influences your art, non-music related? Um, Non-music related. Often ask what's in my wheelhouse to get the feeling for the artist behind the words. So what influences your art? Not necessarily like what drives the music, not necessarily like I always hate the cliche question of what rappers influence you and stuff like that.
Right.
But like what do you draw your inspiration from, I think is the question.
Yeah, I'm a strange cat, dude. First and foremost, I'm a huge movie buff, which is why you saw me doing like Ghostbusters and Avatar, and movies inspire me more than anything. Like strange people like Jerry Bruckheimer and Michael Bay and even Steven Spielberg, and you know what I mean? Some of my favorite directors will inspire me with their films more than anything. Like even just films you wouldn't expect to be inspired by, you know what I mean? Like the 90s Godzilla with Matthew Broderick is a movie that just takes me back to a time in America where things were good. And so therefore I'll go home and I'll write something based off of like Armageddon or Con Air, or, you know, I'm 34. So like all these 90 movies really, they really have a place in my heart. Ghostbusters is a huge one. So movies, but also people, you know, Tupac Shakur, not just the music, but the man, the things that he said, the stuff that he was trying to push. You know, a lot of different people. Dave Chappelle was a huge one for me. Dave Chappelle, what he said in interviews and what he did creatively really inspired me. You know, I wanted to be Dave Chappelle for a while. I loved everything that he was doing. I loved his message. And then some conspiracy dudes that you may or may not know, David Icke, Mark Passio, this guy named Jay Widener, a couple of different cats that are kind of underground that just talk, man. I mean, I'm somebody who sits down and watches like an 8-hour video of somebody just talking. And by the end of that, they become my hero, and I go home and I'll write a jam about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, observing what's around you, observing the media that you take out, I think that's one of the biggest things. Like a lot of people feel like they have to stop and focus on one thing for their inspiration. It's like,
right.
You know, I want to sit in a dark room with a pen and a paper while a candle flickers or something.
This guy right here, Michael Jackson, man. Michael Jackson inspired me big time. My first words were, "Annie, are you okay?" Straight up.
Now
Yeah.
Smooth Criminal's gonna be stuck in my head for the next week. Oh, I'm so mad at you right now.
Yeah, man, classics.
So question I will ask. I know it kind of has a negative frame. I was still expecting some negative frame things, but I will ask the question. Question for Nick: are you truly a MAGA Trump's person, or is it to capitalize on the genre and maximize profits? No disrespect, just asking.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to let it all loose right now. So, BBC hit me up and asked me to do an interview. I want to say two years ago. And I got on there and I told them while I was signed to Warner Chappell that JFK was murdered by the CIA, that the towers were knocked down by George Bush, that, you know, there's Monsanto's spraying the food, and that there's fluoride in the water. I said every conspiracy thing you could say in the world. Now, at that time, I had a bag that was definitely going to be lost because of what I said. Mm-hmm. So for me, personally, I lost a lot of fans because they weren't conservative, they weren't Republican, they weren't conspiracy theorists. So for me, I kind of shifted my music more towards that avenue of people, because I'm like, if I'm going to lose all this money and I'm going to lose all these fans, the least I can do is, you know, rap to the people that actually do support me. So if you want to call that, like, whatever you want to call that, I'm leaning more towards people that are going to buy my music. I guess it's the smartest fucking marketing decision I've ever heard of. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What else would I do at that point? So, well, and then they brought me back out again for another interview just like 3-4 months ago. So, and at that point, I'm like, I'm already fully, deeply into the MAGA movement. I mean, I love Donald Trump regardless of his politics. I love the fact that they were like, you called women fat and obese and ugly. And he went, only Rosie O'Donnell. So I'm like, he makes me laugh. Like, he's got so much more life than the current president. And so for me, man, yeah, I'm a full-on Trumper. I'm a full-on MAGA rapper, whatever you want to call me, man.
I gotta say, like, I'm not, and this is, again, I'm not a huge Trump fan.
Okay.
I'm a libertarian. I mean, I voted for Trump because God bless, but I'm not a huge Trump fan, like as a politician, but as a guy, like, that dude is hilarious, like straight up. And you can't deny that one of the best presidential debate moments ever was Hillary being on the mic and then just wrong, like dude just standing wrong, shaking his head the whole time. Like, he's such an animated character. Like, he's fantastic.
Seems like a real dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Absolutely.
And we just haven't had that in the White House in a really long time. So for me, I'm like, you know, the process of elimination, if we're going by between Joe Biden, you know what I mean, who's fallen off bicycles, and President Trump, I go Trump hands down. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel that. And,
you know what I mean?
And that goes back to what I was saying. Like, if you guys didn't watch that BBC interview, like, it is actually really interesting. I don't know that I fully, you know, believe all the things laid out, but you know, I'm 90%. It's hard not to line up with the conservative viewpoint as a libertarian anyway, because the alternative is just doom and gloom.
Sure.
But so another question: in 2024, Trump or DeSantis, which would you go with? How do you feel about DeSantis?
DeSantis ain't gonna run because he knows that Trump's gonna win the primary. Anybody who goes up against Trump is gonna get killed. I mean that in a political sense. Slow down, Nick.
Everybody.
But I wrote a song with, you know, shout out to Ron DeSantis called "Don't Say Gay" about his "Don't Say Gay" bill that just passed. So I love what DeSantis is doing in Florida, and I really respect, you know, where he's at as far as like caring for the kids. He seems like he really cares about the future generation. So I love what he's doing. I support him. But I don't think he would run against Trump, to be honest.
I think it's a lot more likely that they would run together personally.
Exactly.
I mean, looking at it, I don't think Trump will run with Pence again.
No, it's done.
And so yeah, that you know, it's an interesting contrast that people are looking between the two. On the same note, if you could choose the person to run the system, who would you choose and why?
If I could choose a person to run a system?
Yeah.
I would ask you if you've ever seen the movie Head of State with Chris Rock, where Chris Rock becomes the president of the United States. I wouldn't choose Chris Rock today, but that kind of person, an everyday man, you know what I mean? Yeah. He was like working the bus systems. He was like, you know, if you can't, if you're waitressing at a restaurant that you can't afford to eat, let me hear you say, that ain't right. And so those kind of things, real people that really, you know, are from this country and wake up and go to a 9 to 5 every day, somebody who can, you know, legislate laws that people will understand, that makes sense. You know what I mean? A lot of these people are coming in, they're multimillionaires. And I mean, how many multimillionaires have you sat down with and had dinner with and really hear their thought process? I'm sure the answer is not so fucking many. So you don't really know these people and they don't really know you. And I think that's where the clash is happening. Is that we need somebody who's real. So, you know, anybody who's real.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's one thing that I've thought for a long time, is that our current political system, the biggest problem is, you know, we rally and we fight over these people who are so out of touch with our lives.
Exactly.
And it's just ridiculous. You know, one of the things that I do like a lot about Trump is that Trump tried to push things back to people. And at the end of the day, like, people should have say in what's going on in their lives. You know what I'm saying? Like less government. Like I've told people, like when you come to what are my political views are, I can give you my opinion on your stance in a couple of seconds based on, will it take more government to make this happen or less government? And it's always going to be less government, period.
Exactly.
Totally
Totally agree, man.
I do have a couple of questions for me. I'm looking through, making sure that nobody else is asking one, because already we're coming up on an hour, which always blows my mind. Like when I find somebody I have a good conversation with,
Man, that was fast.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's
That's
always
crazy.
confusing to me because
I thought we
I'm
just
like,
got on.
I feel the same way.
That's crazy.
But a couple of questions for me. I forgot the one of them. It was a in passing question I had. Tell me though about the charm you got on, because like that's the
6'9", right?
yeah.
I heard somebody say that to me at Amfest when I was performing. They're like, "Are you rocking with? Are you in 6'9's class?" I was like, "What'd you say to me?" No, man, this is just a gift first and foremost. So, and I loved it. It has nothing to do with 6'9". If anything, I changed up my look and I changed up wearing so many colors because bitch stole my look. If you go back, I'm dead serious though. If you go back to Platinum Hit in 2011, you will see me wearing nothing but fluorescent green and lime green and pink and all these colors. So that was before 6'9" came out. But the moment I get on YouTube, they start going, okay, he's trying to rip 6'9", and so many people said it to me. I just got tired of it, man, to be honest with you. So now I'm stealing the nigga's chain. Like,
I didn't even think that you were ripping him. Like, I was just like, because I know I've seen you in videos like you know, taking shots at him. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
And so I'm like that. I was watching you talking. I'm like, that's a 6'9" charm, I think. like, and I'm like, okay. But I feel you. That's good. When Convo just flows, AT is amazing at this. Well, I appreciate that, Kat. So Jay asks, who are the independent artists people may not have heard that you like and follow?
I'm pretty sure everybody heard of Bryson Gray, but Bryson Gray was a huge inspiration to me, man. Like before I met him and got to know what a humble and kind dude he was, I was just a fan. Like I was just checking out his music, and he was somebody who was inspiring me. Same goes with Forgiato Blow. I love his patriotism. I love his message. I love everything about the dude. So for me, like a lot of these cats that mainstream may not know as much as, like, you know, the Drakes and stuff. Like for me, those are heroes to me. These are people that I really want to collaborate with and really want to work with, and that inspire me on a daily basis. I put Kelvin J in that list, man. Kelvin J is another one who I was a fan of before we started working together. So he's another one, man. That's my brother.
Well, it's funny because I feel like Kelvin gets kind of glossed over a lot, and it's confusing to me because
he slept on, bro. He slept on. If you listen to his bars, like he's definitely one of the best rappers in this community by far.
It's not even only that. Like behind the scenes, dude does a lot of stuff. Like he's worked on a lot of stuff as a videographer. You know what I mean? Like
multi-talented, bro.
Yeah,
multi-talented.
Speaking of videography, do you shoot your own videos? Like, do you do all that in house?
Dude, it's me and my fiance who's in a lot of my music videos. She also does like the modeling and stuff, but she's usually shooting them. I edit them. They're directed by me because it's my concept, it's my idea and stuff. But we are a 2-person team, and that's been like that from the jump. So it's interesting because once I got re-signed to CTM Outlander, they had to give me another advance, and they kind of had to dig deep in the pockets because they're like, okay, he does his own production, he does his own mixing, he does his own videos. I was like, what exactly are y'all gonna give me except some dollars?
Yeah.
that's the only thing I need right now is some money. So what else y'all got?
Yeah, exactly. I know you mentioned you're on that feature grind right now, like knocking out features with everything else. What's your next big project though? Like, where are you trying to steer yourself, especially in mind? And this is one thing I really want to get to the heart of, like you know, in mind that you want to do, you know, different stuff. Like where are you trying to steer that? How do you see that going forward to actually get to the point of exploring all your talents, doing all your things that you're trying to actually make happen?
Yeah, man, it's like, I'll be honest with you when I say I really don't think that far ahead. Like I kind of go by what inspires me on a daily basis, and then I'll just chop it up real quick. For me, I know that if I'm thinking futuristically, I want my music to represent God a lot more, and where I'm at, you know, Christianity wise. And as far as like where my life path is going, you know, it kind of just came to me one day. I was like, what if, you know, God forbid Nick Natoli died tomorrow morning? What would you want people to remember you for? Is it the drinking lean and videos of talking about, you know, talking shit and this, that? It just kind of felt, you know, whack to me, bro. I want to leave a message that really is, you know, is going to stay with people. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is just trying to come up with material that'll be ever lasting, if anything. So, but as far as upcoming projects go, I got an album coming out with Griff the GOP. It's Griff the GOP and Nick Natoli. We're going to drop a single for that next week called Voting for Trump. I mentioned the Kelvin J song that I have coming out probably next week called God and Country. And then, collabs with Bryson Gray, a few other people coming up. And obviously more singles for me, so look out for that.
That's awesome. We'll be looking. I mean, I'm definitely, like I said, I mean, I'm glad we had the chance to bring and settle everything because I do think you have a positive message. I think that I more than anything, I think your heart's in the right place, and I think that's one of the most important things. You know, when it comes to who I'm going to choose to support, is where's their heart sitting at right now. You know.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that.
And so last thing, like I said, we are up on an hour, and I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you got a lot.
Yeah. Likewise.
But my interview channel is called Around the Music. Usually I try to tailor it away from the music, but there's been so much, and a lot of people in the community have seen like your music over the past couple of years, whether from my perspective, whether from, you know, community interactions, so on and so forth. And so this one focused a lot more on the music.
Right.
But I do want to take a second to nerd out. Like, what are you about? You about video games, comic books, like all of the above? Man,
you can, if I'm not in the studio, if I'm not on stage, you could find me online as Nick Natoli kicking your ass in Battlefront 2. That's my fucking game. NBA 2K with my girl, who apparently is starting to be able to beat my ass because I taught her everything she knows. It's the only reason why she can beat me sometimes. But yeah, we're nerds, man. We be watching movies and playing video games, and we go to the arcade every once in a while and just bug out. Let me tell you how much of a nerd I am. I'm calling every day. I'm calling this video game arcade because when I went there, they had King Kong Skull Island, a virtual experience.
Yeah.
And it was broken. So this was like 3 months ago. I call them every day. I'm like, hey, you got that VR set up? You got that King Kong Skull Island? You ready for me? And they're like, we're still waiting on a part, Nick. They know me by name, bro. Like,
that's where you get down to. Nah, man.
I'm talking, baby.
I'm gonna make sure you know that I'm serious about this. Like, I'm trying to get back in here. Man, that's awesome. Like, shout out. B-Mad said it in the chat too. Jealous of an arcade. Like, I'm jealous too. There was an arcade that I used to burn up, man. And it was in this mall that got shut down, it got relocated and changed around.
Where are you at, bro? I didn't ask.
I'm in Southeast Kentucky.
Oh, that's right. No, you mentioned that because of okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we had this bomb arcade, and I used to burn it up like in high school and stuff. And I came back, so joined the Army when I was 17, and then I got done, you know, came back home and everything. And I'm like, boy, I'm ready to go to the arcade. I'm ready to tear it up. Because like even when I was out, like I was stationed in Hawaii and stuff like that, and Hawaii, you know, is all about the, you know, like the, you know, keeping people entertained, like keeping you out spending money.
Right.
And so there's still arcades in Hawaii, and then I come back here and it's like
nothing.
Arcades just gone. I'm like,
man,
fuck, man. Like,
what about you, man? What do you play?
Most right now I've been playing, like I like retro RPGs a lot. Like I've been playing through Chrono Cross a lot. That came out about 99, 2000 or so. Huge Final Fantasy fan. Been playing, finally got around to playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Like I will play anything that's got a good story. I used to burn up some Call of Duty, of course. I got tired of Warzone. PUBG was still the best what do they even call those now? Battle Royale game. In my mind, PUBG was like there's no point in Fortnite existing when PUBG existed. There's no point in Warzone trying to do what PUBG did because PUBG did it better. Like Call of Duty, Halo, you know, the typical. Fallout's my favorite franchise. So, you know, I'm a big nerd though. I'm a huge gamer, love Star Wars, you know, all that stuff. Like,
you ever play Battlefront 2?
I played Battlefront 1. I really enjoyed that one.
No. You got to hear me right now. I need you to just hear me right now. Because I play a lot of video games.
Yeah.
This game is one of the most amazing games you will ever play in your entire life. I shit you not. I got it for $11.99 off like Xbox Live.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, it is the best $11.99 I've ever spent in my life. I'm dead serious. It's so tailor-made to the actual characters. It's like around the Phantom Menace like area, but the game is intact, bro. It's like it's incredible.
You said Battlefront. I thought you were saying Battlefield. Well, I didn't think you were saying Battlefield. I'm pretty sure I repeated Battlefront.
Well, the Star Wars
Battlefront. Yes. No. Yes. Absolutely.
It's money, dude.
Okay, the Battlefront games. Had they not thrown up such a massive paywall on Battlefront 2, the Battlefront games would be, in my mind, just the peak of perfection because it's such a total war picture. Like, you on the ground, you running, you can find the vehicles, you can get up in the sky. Like, it's actual, like, full scope, and it's so canonically accurate. You know, even, you know, heroes aren't overwhelming if you're playing with actual like you know, real people and everything. Like, it's not like you're constantly worrying about Darth Vader slicing you up. Like, bro, no. Like now that I'm on the same page with you, like no, that shit's fire, man. Like, let's go.
And then I never played Call of Duty, but they just dropped like this King Kong Godzilla, I forget what it, like some sort of like level where you can fight King Kong or Godzilla. So I was like, I might have to peep that because I'm a huge fan of both King Kong and Godzilla. I was just watching this video the other day about why they stopped making movie games. Because I was like, that's really what made me want to go run out as a kid. I'm like, I just saw the movie, and now here it is. Like, Sega had the Aladdin game and the Lion King game. All that shit was like, you know what I mean? I'm like, where are the movie games? And apparently they weren't making as much money, so they stopped making them. But I'm like, dude, that's why I like Star Wars, because I'm like, Battlefront 2 makes me feel like I'm in Phantom Menace right now. You know?
Absolutely. No, like
movie games.
Those games are so good, man. Like, the only thing, which the paywall, I don't know, the paywall is not there now. Or it's at least not there as hard, or maybe I'm just not like grinding it out hard enough to hit it. I'm not sure, but like I enjoy those games either way, because I think I got the same pack that you were talking about now that you mentioned it, because I bought a May the 4th pack, and that's actually how I got Jedi Fallen Order that I finally got around to playing, because I was like it came in that, and it was like, you know, all the Battlefronts, and then like Fallen Order and something else, which they have right now. I don't know if you have Amazon Prime, if you're a Prime, if you get like the Prime gaming rewards and stuff like that. They have right now redeemable the old games like Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, and something else, which I own those games still, like hard copies in a jewel case. But now like digital downloads, like for free for having Prime. I'm like, let's go.
My brother just got me for my birthday. He got me a Sega 32-bit, like it's like a tiny little Sega, but it's got all the games loaded on there from like when we were kids. I was like, dude, like, my brother, you know me, man, you know me.
I've seen that. Couple of Nerd Outlaws' favorite game of all time, Batman Returns from Super Nintendo.
Oh, there's a new Batman game coming out called, I think it's Gotham Knights. This game, I'm gonna send you the preview, bro. The preview of this game, it looks tits. I've never seen anything like this. It's like multiplayer. It looks fire, and they keep pushing the release date back, so you know, like, it's gonna be crazy when it comes out.
Does it look better than the Arkham games though? Because the Arkham games now will forever be my benchmark.
No, I'm telling you, this makes the Arkham games look like old school video games. I'm telling you right now. Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna send you the preview to this thing. It's insane, bro.
Oh,
my girl just keeps asking me. She's like, any word on that Gotham Knights game? I'm like, I don't know, baby. I'm still waiting.
Bro, I'm a big enough Batman fan to have the Batman logo on my arm.
Oh, snap.
Saying, so,
like,
right
on.
I've also got a Pokemon for the record. But 90s kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in the chat saying too, Gotham Knights. That was it. Chad Anderson says, "What's up, Nick?" So we wrapping up. I do want to share a couple of things though, because one of the things that I was talking about that I think is important, you know, when we were coming to the community, I'm really glad to see like a lot of the comments a lot of people have put in here. You know, one from Kat is being able to admit you weren't in the right mindset, let your demons run you at the time is awesome. Most people like to blame everyone for those things. Props to you for that. Another one, Roxy says, glad Glad Nick found himself, got away from the negative. This part of Nick is refreshing. Someone I will watch for real. I appreciate you guys sharing those things in the chat for real, because like that was one of the big parts that I guess I kind of wanted to come around and kind of gauge, because once again, given all credit where it's due, like shout out to Kelvin, because Kelvin caught me saying something negative one day, and he was like, "Nah, man, you need to connect with Nick and figure it out, because like Nick today is different than Nick at the time that you're talking about."
I love that. Big shout out to Kelvin J, man. That's my brother.
Yeah. And so appreciate Kelvin for motivating this to come to fruition. But even bigger props to Nick for coming on, because I even told Nick before we did this interview, I'm like, there gonna be some negativity probably. I was like, just so you know, I'm like, this is a thing. And he was like, nah, man, I really actually want to take a minute to clear that up. And so it wasn't something I pressed him on. It was something he brought up to me. Actually, I think you mentioned like the whole trend F thing and everything before I even had a chance to circle around to it. And so, shout out, because you guys know I'm genuine with my content. I'll be honest with you guys. If I think somebody's a piece of shit, I'll tell you I think they're a piece of shit and stuff. But huge shout out to him for not like waiting. He got on top of it, and he's like, "Look, man, I think we should talk about this too." And so I appreciate that. I appreciate your vulnerability, openness. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff here, and it was genuine. It was a good conversation. I'm glad it finally happened. Do you have anything that you want to plug or shout out?
I just want to. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, for anybody too watching, especially if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Twitch right now and you come to YouTube and catch the replay later, Nick's channel on YouTube is in the description at the top of the video. So make sure that you guys go check out some of his music, like, share, subscribe, whatever you feel led to do, but go check out his music at least if you've never given him a listen before. Give him the benefit of the doubt. However, I'm skeptical. Hey, it is what it is, like people's opinions won't change overnight. I don't think anybody expects it to, but actions speak louder than words. And that's the thing, hopefully everybody watching sees evidence over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I just want to give you a big shout out for even asking me to come on to your podcast and talk and do this interview in the first place. And for reacting to my music, man. You've been a genuine dude and supporting me for a long time. So I super appreciate that. As far as plugs go, I have a new album coming out with Griff the GOP. We're dropping a single next week called Voting for Trump. A new single coming out next week with Kelvin J called God and Country. And my latest single with D-Cure is doing amazing on Spotify right now. It's called Testify. It's all about God. Go hop on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you can listen to music, and check that out. And yeah, man, let's do this again sometime. This was fun, bro.
100%, man. We will definitely link up anytime. I mean, if you want to come on, promote a new project you're working on, you're welcome back anytime, man. I'm awesome, looking forward to it. For everybody watching, Nick Natoli, make sure you check him out again. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Like, share, subscribe if you're new to this community. If you don't know Nick, make sure that you guys go check him out. Like, share, and subscribe over there. For my part, y'all already know I'm going to be live playing games on Twitch here in a little bit. So I'll catch most of you who rock with me over on Twitch here shortly. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day. Great rest of your evening. Staying safe, taking care wherever you are in the world. I'll catch you guys next time.